have access to so many things that we can numb pain with, whether it's social media, it could be shopping, it could be dating, it could be food, it could be anything that is a distraction to what it is that's actually trying to come up. Having to sit with feelings and having to go through that pain, a brighter version of yourself is completely worth it.
We could all benefit from doing inner work. Dena Jackson is a speaker, comedian, and creator of Self-Help Me book and company, where she provides wellness programs for individuals and workplaces.
When you go through a difficult period, it can really open a door or a window into a new perspective, but you have to be open and you can hit quote unquote rock bottom, but you also don't have to.
What if we don't have to get to the deep hole?
You can set up these foundations for yourself now so that way when difficult things do happen in life, you're able to properly manage them.
All these things we know it's good for us, but sometimes people don't do it. How can they connect with emotion? Hello, everyone, and welcome to Pause to Elevate with Dr. Al-Mashat, where we explore mindset, mindfulness, and psychology so that you can better understand your mind to transform your life. I am so thrilled to share today's conversation with Dena Jackson. Having trained as a comedian for 13 years, Dena uses a comedic approach in her talks, workshops, and retreats to share how holistic wellness practices can alleviate stress and anxiety. We can all relate to that. Now, she has created a company and actually a book and podcast by the name of Self-Help Me. And she's trained in various modalities from yoga to Reiki to mindfulness, just to mention a few. So there's so much to dive in. Join us today. But first, a warm welcome to you, Dena, to the Pause to Elevate podcast.
Hi, Kasim. Thank you so much for having me. This is very exciting.
Thank you so much for joining us. And I'm really looking forward to this conversation. You have combined something I find so refreshing, which is healing, emotional well-being, and humor and comedy. So, and self-help, like what a great combination. So I wonder, where did your journey begin? What inspired you to bring humor to self-help?
Yeah, that's a really fun question to start with. Well, I've worked as a comedian for 13 years as a stand-up comedian. And so I think that the world of self-help has always been a strong interest of mine. But when I started on the path of it in the entertainment world 13 years ago, I was in a very different headspace. I was I would say very ego focused and really wanting to excel and strive for fame and things like that. And then about 10 years ago, I went through some very difficult challenges in my life. My father became sick and passed away. And then I also went through a divorce. And during that time, it sort of shifted my entire reality. And I started to look at life through a different lens. And it was very scary having the entertainment world be my foundation when
Yes.
that was going on. That was it wasn't a foundation for anyone who's wondering. It's can be pretty shaky
And
and
stressful. Like, that's very stressful
very
industry.
stressful and very unpredictable. So you can have, a very successful time on stage, and then that leads to some other opportunities, and then you have a great month, and then the following month can be really quiet and not a lot of
Right.
opportunities.
So boom and bust in a way, like, it gets a lot of things happening, and sometimes like crickets, nothing's happening.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
so I started to find that I needed a foundation in that work, but also to go through challenges in life. And so having that be it was no longer an option for me. And so I, on a whim, decided to do a yoga retreat. I was in a really bad way because of some of those experiences I just shared. And so I went on the retreat. I didn't really understand yoga as a practice. I really thought it was like a physical exercise. And
Most people think that, right? Yeah.
right, that's
Yeah.
your way in.
Power
Yeah,
yoga,
exactly.
right? So we're gonna build some muscles.
Yeah, yeah, and we're gonna
Yeah.
become really flexible, and those things definitely can happen with a physical yoga practice, but when I was on the retreat, I learned about the philosophy of yoga and how it helps to
Mm,
process emotions, and then I was just sort of in. And
mm.
I went to that retreat that had, they had no alcohol on the retreat or anything like that, and I was trying to sneak wine into the retreat. So I went in there with that mentality and I came
Yeah.
out, and it was only a week, but I came out with a totally different headspace. I
Mm.
ended up training in the south of India, I think 6 months later to become a
Wow.
teacher. Yeah, I became so committed to it. And then yoga opened the door to some of the other tools that you were sharing. So that opened the door to mindfulness and to breath
Mm,
work and to EFT tapping, working with
mm,
acupressure points in the body to relieve stress, and Reiki as well. And so
mm,
those things have been such a big part of my life and my own practice that as I continued to be a comedian, I also started doing public speaking work where I was delivering
ah,
some of the messages that I was wanting to share at that point, and speaking about some of those tools. And so yeah, that's why, so now things have shifted and changed, and now
mhm,
I'm finding ways to share those tools with people. And I think that having a background in comedy is a way that maybe people who weren't as open to hearing about some of these things might be a little bit more open through laughter. So,
mhm. It's time for a quick little update. A few months ago, 2.5% of you who are watching this content were subscribed to this channel. I'm so grateful to you. You helped us move it to 20%. However, if we do the math, that still leaves us 80% of you have not subscribed. Please help me change that. Go ahead and press that subscribe button. Thank you so much. Let's get back to the content. It's so important the work you're doing because we could all benefit from doing inner work, right? In the
mhm.
different modalities. And how you've brought it, you made it really accessible, like self-help me, like even the name, really genius. Selfhelpme.ca, right? The website. So very creative way of putting it. I just want to backtrack a little bit. So it was actually loss that's kind of push you towards, and it's a lot of us leads us, something happens, some suffering in life where we're like, I want it to be different.
Mhm.
Like I don't want to, it's just too much, like it's a struggle. And I think most people think that life is supposed to be a constant struggle.
Mhm.
Did you find that yourself too? Like, is that what led you to it? And did you think like, it's just going to be like this? I always have to struggle.
I did think that in that dark period, I
Mm,
remember just feeling like, is this it? Like, is this, we're just sort of striving for certain
mhm,
goals and then having very short moments of joy. And I just felt like there had to be more, but I didn't know how to access that at that point. And
mhm,
I think it's interesting when you go through a difficult period like that, it can really open a door or a window into a new perspective, but you have to be open, and
mm.
you can hit quote unquote rock bottom in whatever that looks like for you to get there, but you also don't have to. You
Right.
Yeah, like you can set up these foundations for yourself now so that way when difficult things do happen in life, you're able to properly manage them. And so that's why these tools are such a big part of my life now. I practice every day, and
Mm.
I see the value in them. I feel the value in them. And so that's why I have made them such a big part of my life and my work.
Oh, I love that. Like, why do we have to wait to hit rock bottom? Like, it's just
Right.
a bigger climb to get out of a hole, right? And
Yes.
sometimes it's the deep hole that wakes us up to go, I don't want this anymore. But what if we don't have to get to the deep hole? What if, like, partially into the hole? Do you know what
Yeah.
I mean? And what you're saying is practices that helped you. But, I love how you described your first retreat and meeting yourself. Like, you, even as you said it, there's a smile, like, well, I tried to sneak in some wine, like,
Mhm.
but willing, like having the courage to be vulnerable, to see yourself, to create change. Like, you could have not shared that with anyone.
Oh, well,
right? You could have not, but there's something. Can you say a little more about that? Like being willing to meet the parts of you that, like, maybe we don't want to see. Like sometimes people don't want to mention, like, because everything has to be perfect, right? Like,
right. And we have a really good way of having access to things like social media that will always sort of highlight the beautiful parts, and the not so beautiful parts can go behind a curtain. Yeah, I'm happy to speak about that.
yeah,
I was in a bad way at that point. I was definitely drinking a lot of alcohol then, and but just
yeah.
trying to find things to cover up the pain that was like a giant open wound, and just not wanting to deal with it. And I think we all have access to so many things that we can numb pain with,
Mm,
whether it's social media, it could be shopping, it could be dating, it could be
mhm,
food, it could be anything that is a distraction or a temporary numb to what it is that's actually trying to come up. And so
yeah.
I think what was so eye opening for me on that retreat was having to sit with my feelings, not having
Right.
access to any of those things, being completely removed from my comforts and my vices,
Mm,
and having to go through that pain. And it was not a joyful experience, but to come on the other side of it and feel like you're a brighter version of yourself is
mm,
completely worth it, in my opinion. Mhm. Mhm.
yeah. Which is sometimes, people have a misconception. If we do like retreat or do mindfulness or do yoga, it's like some escape. You
Mhm.
zone out or something, right? And it's it's so opposite of that. It's actually turning in to get to know ourselves and to know all the parts that maybe we don't want to look at. But
Yeah.
that's where healing happens, like as we bring kindness and compassion to, like, oh, here's my critical self, here's the part that kind of cheats me out of life, and here's, like, coming to terms with these parts, but it does require the discomfort, really.
Mhm.
And you went
Yeah.
through it, like, what a discomfort to turn in. And as you described it, what did you describe it, the blooming onion, I think, or like a bloom,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah,
right,
peeling off the layers. Yeah.
yeah,
That's right. Yeah, like
yeah,
I see it that way anyway, that we're like a layered onion. I'm not the only person who sees it that way. I've
yeah.
heard many others share that, but every time you peel off a layer, you reveal this beautiful gem or jewel inside of yourself, and it's like it's a beautiful thing. It's a very very powerful thing, and you connect with very gentle and kind and compassionate and loving parts of yourself that everyone has, but it just requires going through some of those difficult experiences
Mm,
so that those emotions that are trapped in there can start to come up. They can start to feel
right.
like they're revealed, and then they can heal essentially. Yeah. Mhm.
Mm. Which doesn't happen overnight either.
No, it doesn't happen
Right.
overnight. And also, I would share with anyone listening that if this sparks an interest for you, like if you're wanting to make personal change, I would suggest trying different avenues. Like for me, the
Mm,
doorway was yoga, but then it led to practicing mindfulness and doing
mm,
silent meditation retreats in a mindfulness environment where you again have to sit with your emotions
yeah.
and notice your patterns and all of that. But then that led to getting more in touch with breath work and really understanding how the breath
Mm,
moves in the body and the body mind spirit connection, and then that led to Reiki, which is the beautiful understanding of energy and how energy
mm,
works and how energy is trapped in our physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual bodies, and how we can actually release that and live what I would call a higher version of our life by doing
mhm,
that work. So if
mm,
you choose one to start with, one that resonates, and sort of go from there. And it might be journaling, it might be spending some
mhm.
time writing about what you're feeling or noticing a feeling coming up. And instead of suppressing it or going on your phone or buying something or eating something or whatever it is, like actually just allowing that emotion to come up and asking it what it's trying to show you.
What a beautiful encouragement. and
Mhm.
takeaway already, which is this like give something a try.
Mhm.
Like sometimes maybe we get frozen. Like, I don't know, is it this or do I do this? Am I doing the right thing? It's like just try something and go from there.
Yeah.
And I have I teach silent retreats, and I teach it with Bob Stahl, his teacher in California, and we do it online. And
Cool.
he often says this: you get to a fork, you either turn right or turn left. Just pick one. like, if you go right and you go, oh, that's not the way, but go back left. If you go left and you're like, oh, I don't think that's the way, then go back right. But
Mhm.
I think like instead of just ruminating, just try something like you did, and you tried many avenues.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And it can change. It can change for you too. Like we're all different. I first started out in talk therapy, which I also think is so incredibly valuable as well. And I know you know so
Mhm.
much about that.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think it's about trying different things and seeing what really resonates for you, and also those things can change over time the same way that you have a workout at the gym that you might do. You're not going to just do that same workout for the rest of your life. You might do a variation of it, but you're also going to add things, you're going to take things away, you're going to try a new environment. You were
Mm.
sharing with me that you ran a half marathon.
Yeah.
That's probably something I won't do. I'll stick to my yoga practice, but that's what's beautiful, right? Is we find
Yeah.
different ways to move in this world and express ourselves and connect with
Mm.
what's going on inside.
Mm.
Mm.
Yeah, picking something that really moves us, like
Mhm.
excites us, or intrigues us, and then we can find out that like I really like it, or nah, that's not for me.
Yeah, and also if there's something that you hear, like from some of the things that we're talking about now, or anything else in the wellness space that someone hears and they think that like someone listening, you might think, "Oh, you know what? That really resonates with me, but I don't know why." Like I've heard the word Reiki before, but I've never tried it. I don't know anyone who
Mm.
has tried it, but for some reason it's sparking my interest, and I would think I want to give it a try. Like that's something that I would really encourage someone to go for. What, because that's your
Mm.
intuition telling you that. There's a reason why that's coming up for you. So I would say
Mhm.
to investigate those things. So if anything kind of piques your interest from what we're talking about, I would say try those.
You said like
Start
the little whispers, right? Little
there.
whispers in the ears and the heart, like, yes. And sometimes the logical mind kicks in. No, no, what's that gonna do? Like it's like
Yeah.
give it a try. Let's see what
Yes.
happens. Yeah,
Yes. Your intuition is
yeah,
always so much quieter. It's the softer, gentler voice.
yeah, yeah.
Mm.
And how do you know? Sometimes people don't know. Like, how do I find my intuition? Like, what gives you the hit for you when you, and
Hmm.
because you followed it clearly. So for someone who goes, I don't know what's my intuition. Like, how would I know that it's my intuition? What has helped you?
Yeah. It's a very good question. The first thing I would say is to check in with your body. So
Mm,
if you place your hand on your belly, like around the belly button area, and just check in, and you can ask a simple yes or no question to your body. Your body knows. Your body
mm,
is in tune. And so if you're saying, should I go to this destination, or should I ask this person on a date, or is it, is it aligned for me to do this? If your belly expands and is relaxed,
mm.
that's often a yes. And if your belly tightens and like your body tightens, then we know that's a no, right? So it's
Ah,
mhm. That's a simple way to do it. Or
yeah.
another one that is nice for checking in with intuition is using three different categories, which is intuition, desire, or fear.
Mm,
And and so you can use those three categories. And if you have a thought like, is is so and so mad at me, right? That's a good one. Where is
mhm,
that coming from? Where is that question coming from? Oh, is this person mad at me? Well, that's anxiety, fear, right?
mhm,
You can start to feel into your body. How does your body respond to that? That's a fear-based question. Whereas a feeling like I love you more than anything in reference to a loved
mm.
one, maybe a child, that's your intuition. There's no doubt there. That's an inner
Right.
knowing. Mhm. And then a thought like, I want to go travel to France and, go to the Eiffel Tower and fall in love. That's desire, right? Like
Right.
all those things are special, but it's starting to differentiate where these thoughts and feelings are coming from. And your body is always a very clear indicator.
Mm.
But you can also try those 3 columns and just start to use that regularly.
I really like this. I haven't heard it put this way, like the 3 columns.
Mhm.
So you have intuition, desire,
Fear.
and fear.
Mhm.
And how, like, okay, which one is it? And tuning in. That's a really nice lens to explore. We got homework.
Well, and you can try it. You can try using the categories with your hand on your belly. Like, is
Mm,
this fear? Is this desire? Right? Your belly will expand or retract. Right? So, just
mm.
simple ways to check in with yourself, but just starting to be a lot more intentional with the way you do it.
Right. So you ask these questions just to connect with, like, if you're, like, wanting to find out, like, should I go here? Or should I travel here? Or
Hmm.
whatever it might be. And I guess so. So let's say so the intuition we connected with, and if it's a strong desire that has fear, do you listen more to the desire? I guess, or how do these 3 work together? I love this. I've never heard it, so
So if it's you're
I'm
saying if it's
intrigued.
a yeah, if it's a strong desire that has fear, so you mean like something where somebody wants to take a leap, like maybe they want to write a screenplay or something like that. Is that what you mean? Like
Yeah,
that kind of thing?
exactly. Yeah, or maybe it could be that, absolutely, or as simple as somebody's been contemplating, I want to try a yoga class and I have strong desire, but I'm really afraid, or I want to go to the gym and, well, I don't know, I'm not as strong, and what are people gonna say, or reach out to a friend. Yeah, like all these things we know it's good for us, but
Mhm.
sometimes people don't do it.
Yeah, that's a good one. I would say to use one of the tools that we were talking about to work through some of that fear because
Mm,
you want to get to the other end of where the desire is. And so if it is something like I want to take a yoga class or I want to reach out to this friend, but the fear is coming up, in something like that I would recommend EFT tapping, which is are you familiar with EFT?
yes, yes. Maybe you can share it with the listeners.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah.
So it stands for Emotional Freedom Technique, and it involves tapping on meridian points or energy points in the body.
Mhm.
And meridian points are used in Chinese medicine, and they're the
Right.
same meridian points used in acupuncture. And so there you tap in certain areas, so in between the eyebrows, top of the head, under the eyes, under the nose, the chin, collarbone,
Yeah.
side of the body, and then side of the hand under the pinky. And by doing that, you're releasing stress and energy that's being held in the body. So if you were to
Mm,
tap on that fear or that doubt or that worry for 5 minutes, you
mhm.
could check in with how you're feeling at the beginning and then at the end. And so I would say that would be a really quick exercise to work through. And there are tons of different videos on YouTube where you can do this
Yeah.
for free. One of my favorites is Brad Yates. He's well known in the tapping world. Tap with Brad, that's his YouTube. But that would be a great one. So if you're like, I really want to attain this desire, it does feel like a desire, but I do sense into some fear as well. I would say try a little bit of tapping. You could have also do some breathing or some journaling. There are different
Mhm.
options, but identify that that fear is there and then know that you can work through it.
Hello, everyone. I just wanted to quickly thank you for stopping by and watching this content. It truly means the world to me that you're interested in creating positive change. I also want to invite you to join our amazing community. I have free events online about mindfulness, mindfulness based stress reduction, laughter, as well as retreats that you can do from the comfort of your own home. And are you ready for this? Self paced program that you can do about mindfulness and stress reduction. So you can join the newsletter below to stay up to date on all these goodies. And if you haven't subscribed, go ahead and press that button. It really helps me to keep this content going and reach out to more guests. Thank you so much again, and may you continue enjoying watching this episode. This is so, so good. A couple of things I want to really unpack from this, because recognizing there's a fear does not mean it's a barrier. it just means there's something to work with. And you're
Mhm.
mentioning all the different ways of working with it, the journaling, tapping, all the different modalities. But that's transformation. Transformation is understanding here is what's stopping me from reaching to a friend, going to the gym, or whatever it is, fill in the blank, starting a
Mhm.
project, or here's the fear. Now let's work with the fear so it doesn't stop us.
Mhm.
Instead of only when I'm not afraid, then I'll do it.
Right, because if it's only when I'm not afraid, then it's not gonna happen. It's not
Totally.
yeah, it's not gonna take
Totally.
place. We are meant to evolve. We are meant to transform, like you were sharing,
Yeah.
and we are capable of the most amazing things. And
Yeah.
so it just involves working within ourselves, recognizing that having some fear is actually quite healthy, but there are patterns that are designed to keep us safe that reside within us, and those
Mhm.
patterns are they can be healed, they can be broken, they can be transformed, and once you do that, then you come out of being like a fly between the window panes and one of the windows opens and then you get to the other side. It's not like it's not impossible. It is possible.
Right.
Mhm.
Right. So
Mhm.
it's taking that step again. It may feel overwhelming at first for anyone listening. It may feel overwhelming, like, oh, I don't know how I'm going to get there. And the beauty of healing path and the journey is just take a step.
Yeah.
Just take a step, and you never know. Take a step.
Yeah. Taking the
Yeah.
first step too doesn't have to be as scary as you anticipate. Like if your goal is to go and take a yoga class, maybe the first step is pulling out your journal or a journal and starting to
Yeah.
write down all of the fears that are coming up, whatever they are. If you're concerned about whatever, being viewed a
Yeah.
particular way or not being good enough or whatever these things are that are coming up, naming those things and then taking the next step from there. Okay, well, maybe I'm going to try a class on YouTube where it's just me at home
Mm.
to start. Then maybe I move towards something in person and it's a beginner level class, right? And it's that gradual process and then
Right.
celebrating along the way as well.
When you're describing it, you reminded me of an interesting quote by John Kabat-Zinn, who's
Mm.
the person who created mindfulness-based stress reduction and BSR. It's something that I teach and
Oh, cool.
teach teacher trainers as well.
Mhm.
Um, what I find amazing about the quote that he says is mindfulness is not about fixing anything, but about seeing things clearly as they are and
Yes.
then being in a wise relationship to them.
Yes.
Like I can't tell you how many times I've like that I had to read it and reread it, and I'm like, I got into mindfulness because I wanted to fix me. I'm like, I want to fix me. I'm like, it's like I'm fix me, but it's actually we're not broken. It's recognizing, seeing things as they are. So if it is fear, here's my
Mhm.
fear. If it is, if it's shame, if it's guilt, here's what it is, and then relating to it so it doesn't stop us, which is exactly what you did.
Yeah, there's a
Yeah.
friend of mine who's an energy healer and he's like a clairvoyant. He's very gifted. His name's
Mhm.
Seth Dietland, but he shared a quote with me that I always think of a lot, which is that the healing process is not about fixing something that's broken. It's about remembering that it was never broken to begin with
Mm.
and that it's a remembering. But yes, in the respect of mindfulness, mindfulness is a beautiful practice because you realize that things are just going to exist, people are just going to exist, experiences are going to happen, and it's us, we're the ones that assign meaning to them. And we assign meaning to them based on whatever is going on within us. And so when we start to see it that way, then we realize a tree is just a tree or this political figure is just a person, right? Like there's so
Right.
many things that are happening and it's what's going on within us that's may or may not be choosing to respond to that. And mindfulness is so beautiful because you start to notice those actions or those feelings coming up and emotions
Right.
in the heart before you may choose to have reactive or not choose before you have reactive behavior.
Right, which is the automatic. Like when we're not aware, and this is what I find. I love these practices.
Mhm.
The yoga practices, the mindfulness, or the meditations, becoming aware, so getting to see the patterns rather than just being in them. Like they're
Right.
habitual. We we just do them.
Yes.
But once we know we're doing them, now we have choice to go, this is not
Oh,
helping. Like me, whatever, giving a friend or a partner a cold shoulder for days, maybe that's not very helpful anymore. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
yeah,
And
yeah,
it and when you can snap out of, like, when you wake up, you have those mindful moments because, like, we were referencing the gym and running and stuff like that. If you're
yeah,
building a mindfulness practice, then you start to build a mindfulness muscle, as I'm sure you know, where you
yeah,
have these mindful moments and you do, like you said, snap out of a story that you may not even be consciously telling yourself that just
right,
started running in the background. And it is one of the most freeing things I've ever experienced. I remember once I think it was the first 2 or 3 years I was studying mindfulness, and I was looking out a restaurant window and I was lost in a story, and it was a negative story, and it was about not being good enough, and I'm not going to
mm,
achieve this goal that I wanted, and how important it was, and if I don't achieve this goal, that I'm, not worthy, I'm not good enough, I'm nothing if I don't achieve this. And I didn't even realize that that was running, that
right,
program was running.
right.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden I did. The mindfulness muscle popped right in and I noticed it, and then I was able to come out of it. And it was such a freeing moment. Like, I still remember it to this day. It was a few years ago now, but that is why, like you said, so many of us are committed to these practices because you really
Yeah,
do see that change. Mhm.
yeah. And actually, what's interesting too is when people like skip days or weeks or months of practice, sometimes that helps them realize I'm better off when I do practice.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Like,
Definitely.
and I think sometimes there's a lot of pressure to do it just perfectly.
Mhm.
And all the things that I teach as well. It's like, oh, I missed a day, I missed two, I missed. Oh, it's all gone to waste. Like, well, actually, no. Just start again today. Like,
Mhm.
just start again. Like,
Mhm.
start again. Start
Yeah.
fresh. Doesn't have to be perfect. Just
Mhm.
practice.
Yes, and we're human. We're
Ah,
not perfect. That's
yeah,
what's so interesting is we put so much pressure on ourselves to be perfect, but we're not that. That's not how we
yeah,
came into this world. We're meant to have a human experience, which can be a beautiful experience. It can also be a challenging experience. And this body is so heavy and
yeah,
weird and tough. And you notice that in a mindfulness
yeah,
practice,
yeah.
especially.
Aches and pains.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
it
yeah,
but we're not we're meant to understand that this is all part of the experience and not try to
yeah,
change it or fix it, like you said.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
Mm.
You know what? I'll go back to something. I was just so curious what it's like. Uh, being a comedian and
Mhm.
talk about fear and being on stage and like that takes courage. Like that's public speaking to the next level. Do you know what I mean? Like, so what is that like for you? Like,
What's it like as a comedian?
yeah, well,
It
yeah. And what's it like being on stage? How do you deal with your own emotions, getting ready, and like take us through the back door?
Sure. Being a comedian is a very interesting experience. It's something where you get to share energy with an audience, and your intention is to bring joy, and the
Mm,
audience's intention is to enjoy laughter and have an experience. And so I try to go into it with that mentality, as
mm,
opposed to 13 years ago when I was in a very ego-based mentality, and it was all about needing validation and needing to achieve particular goals and getting caught up in the world of entertainment, because you can go that route. That is a
right.
possibility in that world. But you can also go another route, and I think that this is applicable to any profession that someone chooses, where if you
Mm,
have the intention of bringing joy and sharing joy, then the reception is always really, really beautiful.
mm,
And what I like as someone who does, like, I practice Reiki, and what I like as someone who works with energy is that you
mm,
realize that comedians and performers and anyone who speaks in front of a large group, they are always working with energy.
yeah.
They're very aware of what is happening in the room. They're very aware of where the audience is at, and that it's
Mm,
actually like a dance with the audience. You have a way of wanting to relay your message, your stories, your jokes, but
right.
you want to do that in a way where you're building momentum, and then bringing the audience to a certain point where laughter can take place.
So you're
And
really filling the room.
yes, yeah.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah, and so it's a beautiful experience in that way, and it's also for me, as I've changed and grown as someone who's, practicing wellness and in the spiritual space, I look at it differently now, and
Mm,
I always try to think of myself as a like a channel for positivity and joy and bright energy. That's the goal. So the goal has shifted.
mm.
Mhm.
Th- And when you shift that goal, I mean, as I hear you say it, it's like, oh, it's a bit of a relief, like less pressure than
Mhm.
everyone feels like it's like having to perform a certain way, or people please. Like, did they like what I like, rather than just
Yeah.
offer you?
Yeah, well, I think too I do this in my speaking work where it's all about what can I give? What can I give? What can I share and what can I
Mm,
give? And so before any talk I give, or if I'm performing comedy or both, a lot of the time I'm doing both, I will do a meditation before, I will practice
mm,
some breath work before, I will do some Reiki before as well. And these are all things that I do before any performance. And I do feel
mm.
that it's a different performance than what I would have done beforehand, where, like you said, I was looking for validation, needed the laughter, needed to feel accepted.
Yeah,
And I'm
of
not saying that's the case for every comedian. Every comedian is different. And
course. Yeah, yeah,
yeah, and every speaker is different, but for me, that's where it was, and for me, in my own growth, that's where I feel it was important to get to, because now, like you said, it does take the pressure off, and
yeah,
the intention is always there to share, and that's the goal.
yeah. And getting, you know, what you were saying earlier as well about the practices that helps us connect with ourselves, then we can connect with others. Because
Mhm.
every time that I've done any talk, public speaking or teaching, people think, oh, you never get nervous. Of course I do. Like, how do I, like, even before doing a podcast, I got nervous, you know, and I can feel the excitement in my body. I can feel my breathing changes, and just, you know, I connect with that. Like, my body's gearing up. This is normal. This is anticipation. This is excitement. This is, so, like, you know, it goes back to perception. And perception is like, this is not like, oh, this is danger. It's like, I'm just gearing up. Here we go. Here comes the wave. Ride the wave. And
Mhm.
really, mindfulness has helped me ride the waves in life, ride the waves of my emotion, the sadness. I actually lost my father, just like you, exactly
Mhm.
10 years ago. 10
Oh,
years ago,
wow.
September. Yeah.
Huh.
So when you said that, I was like, wow, same amount of time.
Oh.
And that was really powerful for me to be there. Like, mindfulness helped me feel my sadness and even notice moments of joy in that day. You know,
Mhm.
moments connecting with family, moments of deep sobbing, moments of laughing, moment, like all of it,
Mhm.
like being present with.
Hmm. That's beautiful,
Yeah.
Kasim. Thank you for
Yeah.
sharing that with me. That is very interesting that we both lost our fathers, like almost within a couple of months of each other.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
Yeah. It
And
changes, like things changed.
it definitely, yeah. But like
Yeah.
in both of our cases, and I'm sure there are listeners who can relate, it ended up opening a door to that inner study and starting to recognize when big challenges do come up in life, how to prepare yourself and your own heart for when tragedy strikes again, because there is tragedy in life. That is
Yes.
part of life. And now, not that I want any tragedy, nobody wants that, but now
Of course not.
yeah, but I feel more equipped, and I'm sure you probably could agree with that, right? In your experience, feeling more equipped now that we have these practices in place.
100%. 100%. And that changes how I look at life. Like,
Mhm.
for life to be good, everything has to go smooth all the time.
Mhm.
That was my perception for a long, long time. Like, I just want to learn to meditate. So, like, I don't feel any problems. Nothing hurts me. I become like a robot or something. Like, that was my original perception, right? Like, I'm
Right.
gonna, and now it's more like there's steadiness. When there's deep sadness, there's deep sadness. When there's joy,
Mhm.
there's joy. But the practice becomes a steady ground to land on. and
Yeah.
life will do ups and downs. Like, why would life suddenly stop doing the ups and downs? Like, do you know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like, but I think part of us wants that, wants predictability, and wants everything to go smooth all the time.
Oh yeah. Well, if we can just move enough things in place on the outside, like if there are okay, I have enough of this and I have enough of that
Yeah.
and okay, everything's good. All right, I'm fine. It's like, no, no, no. There's lots of stuff going on in here and I believe that the world shows us mirrors. It shows us mirrors
Yeah.
of what's going on. Now, losing someone that's a different
Of
thing, but
course.
yes, but in terms of how we respond to things and how we assign meaning to things, etcetera, that that's mirrored back to us.
Yeah.
Mm,
Yes. Well, the challenge is kind of expose in a way our own patterns, and unfortunately, like
mhm,
helpful coping, unhelpful coping, reactivity, and it's like, oh,
mhm.
it kind of squeezes us, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
definitely. For me, it was always years on the when I was on the highway, like just snapping on people on the highway because I wasn't dealing with the pain and the grief and the
Mm,
sadness and all the things in my heart. And so I would decide that all of the people on the highway were villains
right.
and they were out to get me and I was out to get them and I would follow people like I'm not proud of this behavior. I don't do this behavior now, but with
Yeah.
these practices in place, I still feel the anger or the hurt
Right.
or I still feel it come up, but I it gives me like a practice like mindfulness or a practice like breath work or a practice like meditation. Those things give me a little bit more time to pause and choose to be
Mm,
proactive in those moments instead of reactive.
yes. So well said. It's not so. It's like the impulse will still be there. Like
Mhm.
we want to honk back, or like
Yes.
jab back with a word, or finger
Yeah,
them or whatever. Right? Like the
totally.
impulse, it's okay for the impulse to be there, but it's like, what are we doing with impulse? That
Yes.
that that we have more choice with practice. Doesn't mean we're going to do it perfectly, but we have a little
Mhm.
more choice to respond a little better.
Exactly, and
Yeah, yeah,
ego's not in the driver's seat anymore, ego's in the back seat, like, you're still there,
yeah,
I see you, I know you want attention right now, I recognize that, I see that, I love you because I love every part of myself,
yeah.
but you are not driving the car. I'm driving the
Right.
car.
Right. So even there, I so love how you said it. You're not scolding the ego. You're not like
Mm-mm.
shaming. It's like, oh, but it's like, thank you, but not helpful now.
Mhm.
Like not helpful now.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
ego is part of us. The ego is what
Yeah.
is one of the things that makes us unique and different and it's there. It's once we let it completely drive and run the show, that's when it can be more challenging. There can be more chaos in our life.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
There's so many more things I want to ask you about. So there's something about the trip to India, and then we'll go a little bit about the self help me, the book
Sure.
itself, and all the work that you're doing there. So what was that like? I've never been to India, so it's been on my list. Um, so what was it like? You went there and studied. Was it the yoga there or the?
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
did
yeah,
my yoga teacher training there. I loved it so
yeah.
much. My only regret is not being there for longer. Um, I absolutely loved the school that I was training with,
Mm.
and I learned so much about my practice. And it was intense. We were practicing physically 3 times a day, and it was very, very hot. We were in the south in Goa, and
Ah,
I loved every minute of it there. I'm definitely going to go back but learning about how it just feels like we have a little bit of catching up to do in the West when it comes to understanding emotions. Because in the
mm,
East, at least where I was, it was just sort of part of the curriculum there, learning about the philosophy of yoga, learning about
mm,
how to process emotions. That kind of thing seems to be built into the basic understanding there of everyday life. And so that was something I really respected and was like, wow, I really feel like if I was to ever have a child, I would want this child to study the philosophy of yoga just to understand how emotions
right.
work. Mhm.
Mm. So for listeners who have no idea, I think we already alluded to it, but for you, when you went there and you discovered, oh, this is how yoga helps in connecting with emotion. What would you say to someone who's new to yoga or practices from your trip to India? Um, how can they connect with emotion?
Yeah, through yoga. So, I mean, first of all, there are different kinds of yoga. So there's so many different kinds. There is karma yoga, which is not actually the practice of doing the postures or the asanas. It's the practice of giving back. And so if you were similar to when you're doing the silent
Mm,
meditation retreat, anyone who's taking part in that are contributing. So maybe they're cleaning the space or helping with
right.
the cooking. So that is a form of karma yoga, giving and receiving, which is very
Mm,
beautiful. And you will see that across yoga studios just about everywhere where
yeah.
someone will do an energy exchange who works there. They'll be the one cleaning the studio. And in exchange, they get to practice and be part of the classes. And they don't have to pay money for that because they're giving their energy. So it is a beautiful thing that is carried on through the East and the West in that way, which is really lovely. But in terms of processing emotions, emotions are, from what I've seen and experienced as a teacher, stored in the body. And so if you're doing a posture that can open up the hips, for example,
Mm,
like there's the pigeon pose or
yes.
thread the needle pose with one leg crossed over the other. Even if you're unfamiliar with the names of these poses, you can look them up if you like, but they're typically to open the hips. And what I see in my classes that I'm teaching is that when someone's in a hip opener, they can often start to feel emotional, they can start to cry, and they're
Right.
not sure. Yeah, they're not sure why. And it because it's an emotion from something they experienced previously, a lot of the time, not on that day, but something that was stored there. And so, what's beautiful about yoga is that the physical practice of yoga was created to assist with meditation.
Mm.
So, the yogis, when they created it, they were sitting in meditation for 7, 8, 9 hours and getting really pretzel like. So, they created the postures, the asanas, to release that tension so that they can sit in meditation for longer. And so, as
Mm,
you work through that in a physical practice, you release a lot of that tension, a lot of those emotions, and then you can get to the most important posture, which is Shavasana at the end, where you have that space and you're not full of excess energy that you no longer need.
I
And
love
that
that
is
one.
when you're in, yeah, everyone loves that one. You
Yeah,
get
yeah,
to
which is
lie
basically
down.
they call, yeah, just you're lying down and hands resting by your side, and
Yes.
yeah,
And you've allowed yoga to do what it needs to. You've gone through a whole practice where certainly there have been moments with ego, and certainly there have been moments of feeling, frustrated or other emotions. Emotions are coming up throughout the entire practice, and it's about seeing them and feeling them and giving them space so that they can move through. And then by
mhm.
the end, you're able to really expand and allow for that meditation. And it just, yeah, I mean, it's beautiful.
I'm smiling because you remind me of, there's a period where I actually struggled with just lying back,
Mm,
savasana at
mhm.
the end, just resting. I remember the yoga teacher at the time. It's like, okay, you just lie back, and this is for everyone, and then you can just leave after. I would be like the first one to leave. Like, I'm done. I did my poses. I'm out of here.
Yeah.
Do the next thing. Do you know what I mean? Like, next. And it just was such a learning for me. I it's okay to rest. Right. This is actually the integration. This is
Mhm,
actually a posture. You can just be here, be here. And I struggled for a while because I always didn't want to be where I was. I wanted to be somewhere else.
mhm.
And so thank you for naming that. Yeah, it's a posture.
Yeah, well, and I
Yeah,
and I
yeah,
think so many can relate to what you just said about wanting to be somewhere else. We
yeah.
live in a society that's constantly wanting us to just stay in our heads and also look out at the external. And yoga, the physical practice of yoga is very beautiful because it calls you back into your body. But
Yeah,
it is a process. So it's not going to happen on the first class. In fact, the first
yeah,
class you may not like it at all because it's going against all of the patterns that are existing within you,
yeah.
right? but the more you start to do it, the more you start to understand what it can do for you, and let it do what it needs to. And it can do that in an hour or however amount of time you allow for your practice.
Yes, yes, allowing it.
Mhm.
Absolutely. And you know, you're mentioning about emotions in the body. It's actually quite amazing. And you're like, science has proven that you're 100% correct. And you know, even without the research paper, if we don't look at them, you're correct. Like, the body keeps the score. And there's even work that's done by Kolk, who works with trauma. It says, you know, the body keeps a score, like that.
Mhm.
The body remembers,
Mhm.
and it's not always cognitive. Like, we think we overvalue the, I have to think my way through, blah, blah, blah. But actually, our body feels our way through it.
Definitely.
Sometimes movement, even massage. Sometimes people do massage, like with a registered massage therapist, and they start tearing up. They're like, I don't know why I teared up. It's like, well, something got released.
Mhm.
Like,
Mhm.
this is the body we're in.
100%. And
Yeah.
it's so lovely now to see more and more people who are open to that. Like, because for so many years it was about, okay, yes, there's a knot in your back, so physically I can understand that, but it's like, okay, but there are knots in your energetic field. There are knots in
Yes.
the way the emotions are that are stuck, right? And so more and more people are open to that now, which I think is really beautiful, because it shows that we understand more of the mind body
Yes.
spirit connection, right? So
Yes. Which is actually not talked about as much. The energy
mhm,
field in the body. It's not talked
mhm,
about. And it's a lot of like in the closet for many people, like, ooh, I don't want to talk about energy stuff. It's like ooh stuff. But
right.
I tell you, you know, I was this is years back. I volunteered at a hospice, and it was palliative care and hospice. And so they did quite rigorous training and preparation for that work.
Mhm,
And one of the things that they brought in is an instructor of healing touch and Reiki.
mhm,
And that was really the first time I was like, oh, wait a minute, this is at a hospital. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's like, oh, we have energy. Oh, yeah, okay. And we can actually influence each other's energy. Like,
mhm.
this is not woo. This is where, like, if you look deep into the cell, like, with molecules, like, what? We are energy.
Definitely, and
Yeah.
energy's everywhere. Like, when you look at the energy that comes together to turn on a light bulb, right? Like,
Yeah.
that's energy. It's a energy that's moving really, really fast, and then the light goes
Yeah.
on. Like, it's interesting what we're sort of conditioned to believe and not believe, but like you said, a hospice environment is very common for Reiki and energy healers to
Yeah.
spend their time in, because it is the understanding of energy and also the transition that someone goes through when they
Yeah.
pass. And so, yeah, it's a beautiful thing, but also there are ways to understand energy now that anyone can do, no matter where they're
Right.
at. We all know that feeling when you walk into a room and you think something just happened in here. Like, it could be a positive
Yes.
experience, could be a party, like you just
Or it
felt the
doesn't feel
energy.
good. You're like, I don't like the space.
Or
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's the
Yeah.
other option, right? Where you're like, "Ooh, something is off here," right? We all know what that feels like, just like we know what it feels like to be on a crowded subway or bus and someone
Yeah.
is in your energy field and too close to you. We don't like that feeling, right? And they're not actually physically touching us, but they're too close, and that's
Yes.
because of that's their energy close to our energy, right? So all of those things, those are very simple ways of starting to notice energy and being more aware that we can feel it and sense it. Or like when somebody looks at you and you have your back to them and you
Yeah.
can feel them, you can feel their
Yes.
eyes, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Like this is all energy.
It really affects us. Oh, you just
Mhm.
remind me. I went traveling to Cambodia a while back,
Mhm.
and did some volunteer work there. And I wanted to go to I went to Phnom Penh,
Oh wow.
the capital. I wanted to go to the different prisons, the killing fields, and all
Mhm.
the like massacres that happened in Cambodia. And one of the places I went to, literally, like, there's no like pictures of or anything. It was just like just a field,
Mhm.
and I like it viscerally made me sick. Like,
Mhm.
it confused me.
Mhm.
Like, I'm just like, I want to be a tourist walking around, and I'm like, I don't want to be here. Like
Mhm.
like I was.
to
Yeah.
feel the
And
heaviness of
even
that
the meal, like
energy.
I loved the curries here in Cambodia. Oh my, so good. And it
Mhm,
was a meal right after. I could barely eat. My body
mhm,
was like, I could feel like, the horrors. It's just the
mhm.
energy was, yeah. So
Yeah,
yeah, 100%.
yeah.
Oh
Anywhere like that where there has been so much tragedy in one place,
yeah,
we can feel it. We have the ability to
yeah,
feel it and sense into it, and we know that, right? And what's so
yeah,
interesting too about that is the more you start to speak to someone, like I'm sure there are people who are listening right now and they're like, "Yeah, I had an experience like that."
yeah,
Or I had this I went to this particular place and I felt this way, and you know what? I did sense the energy in the room here, or there I met someone and I didn't like their energy, right?
yeah,
Like
yeah,
these things we are aware of, and it's about just like tuning into yourself, and again giving that example with the hand on the belly, but many of us are very sensitive to feeling and
yeah,
feelings we get in our body, and so energy can that's within us can sort of sense the energy around us, and so that's what's really beautiful about that kind of work is you start to just build your awareness around that, and then
yeah.
you can find ways to have it work in your favor.
Yes, which again requires awareness
Hmm.
of internal and external, which is really mindfulness. And mindfulness is just inner and outer worlds, not just inner,
Hmm.
inner and outer. Yeah.
Hmm.
And I mean, talk about energy. I mean, your energy is lit up. Like you're on the opposite side of like negative energy. You're bringing so much positive energy, and the
Oh,
work
thank
that you're
you.
doing, really,
Hmm.
because that's the other thing. When we go to, like you said, you walk into a room and you're like, ugh, you feel like, ugh, but you also feel the same with people who lift you up with energy. You're like, oh, I feel good. I don't even know this person, but I just feel uplifted. Or we have a
Mm.
conversation, or so. Your energy obviously is turned up. So I really appreciate you. And I'm wondering if you can say a little
Thank
bit
you.
about Self Help Me. So the book, let's start with the book actually. Just say a little bit about Self Help Me. And you have it maybe in your head, but yeah, if
Yeah.
you can say a little bit about
Well,
Self Help Me.
you also have wonderful energy,
I,
so just know that
oh,
about
thank you.
yourself. Very, very bright. Yeah, it's very, very bright and really nice to have the conversation. So thank you. Thank you for
Thank you.
mhm. Um, so this is the book. Yay, very exciting.
Yay. Congratulations.
Thank you. And it's yes, it's called Self-Help Me. It's been a labor of love. Sharing all it's sharing all of the tools that we've been talking about today, but it also
Mm,
shares my personal story. And this book actually started as a one person show where I talk about some of the experiences with grief and divorce and
mm,
difficult life challenges, but then I use comedy to talk about those things. And so I've brought those things into my stand-up act. So the book
mm,
is funny. There's some funny parts to it, experiences at different stages of life going through that. And then, in addition to my own story, it's breaking down some of the emotions that we might find within us, like
mm.
vulnerability, anxiety, we may deal with imposter syndrome,
Right.
stress, so many different things that can come up for us. And then I share a personal story where I've experienced that as well. And then also some tools that I suggest for working through that. And it
Mm,
comes with an online workbook where you have access to video and audio meditations. You also have access to a journal and workbook where you have prompts and things like that. And all of
mm.
that is accessible at selfhelpme.ca. So, yeah.
So this feels like multidimensional. Like it's not
Mm.
just a book, but it's a way of engaging in our life. Tools and reflections, processes. So it's not just one dimensional, which I really appreciate.
Oh, well, that's very kind. That would say that is the goal. You
Mm,
can read the whole book through. Like the first time you might want to read it the whole way through, and then later on you may want to come back and say, okay, actually, I'm feeling a lot of doubt right now. Isn't there a section on doubt? Okay, I want to go through
mm.
doubt. Or I'm feeling really fearful. We talked about that before. There's a whole
Right.
section on fear. There's one around fear with physical pain.
Mm.
that I wrote right before I went into surgery. I had surgery on my leg, and there was a lot of
Oh wow.
fear coming up. So, yeah, so it was, but it's all about, okay, you can go section by section, try the tools that are with it, try the online video meditations, etc. And then you want to go on to a different
Mm.
one, or you may just be interested in the stories and want to have some laughs and work through things like grief, which is a big one in there too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
It's so hands on. Like this is not theoretical book. This is like practical. And I love the idea that you created of like, oh, you can just go to that section, go back to that section. There's dealing with pain or dealing with fear, and it's like you can revisit it. I
mhm.
really, yeah, really like how you've put it together.
Well,
Practical.
thank you.
Yeah.
And it may be different times that you read it, right? Like,
Yeah.
first time you might be fearful of something. First of all, the fact that anyone reading it has identified that that's what's coming up is
Yeah.
huge, because that requires a lot of self-awareness. So if you're like, "Oh, I'm feeling fearful right now. What can I do?" Then that's why there is the hands-on approach, which gives
Yeah.
options as to, "Okay, yes, I've been there. Still go through it just like you do, and here are the things that
Yeah.
I use to work through them." Mhm.
Mm. So then you also do retreats and you do public speaking and you bring in these components to into your public speaking as well. So if you're doing like a wellness public speaking, is that what you do? This,
Yeah, yeah, that's
yeah,
right.
yeah,
I
yeah.
offer different keynote presentations where I
Mm.
incorporate comedy, and I share my own personal experiences and challenges with a lot of these emotions. And then they are interactive as well. So I will ask the audience to try some breath work, to try some tapping, to join me in a meditation, or even just something as simple as taking a breath like you and I did before this recording, which was so
Yeah.
lovely, as a way of connecting, but also helping to calm and settle the nerves.
Yeah.
And yeah, and then we do workshops and retreats as well. We also do puppy yoga, and we bring
Yeah.
puppies to help calm the central nervous system. We use those with some of the breathwork classes and tapping classes too. So, yeah.
These are so fun. Actually, I did one 2 years ago or 3 years ago, and it was a riot.
Do
Like,
you remember what kind of puppies you
what
had
was
in
it? I
yours?
think it was a what's it called? A taller. The it's a I think it's called a taller or toddler. I can't remember the exact breed,
Okay.
but Nova Scotia trawler, is that what it's called? Nova. It's a
Oh, I'm not,
Canadian
okay.
the Canadian
Rem-
type of, and yeah, it was. So we, we did some postures, and then the puppies were like resting when we began, and then suddenly they opened the little gate for puppies. That was
Come running out.
mayhem. Like
Yeah.
I forgot like if I was doing my right side or left side, or like, it didn't matter. It was just
Yeah.
about relaxing and having fun. And it was fun.
Yeah. And the joy they bring, like, they're just
Yeah,
such
yeah,
sweet little angels, and a lot of the time when they're there, they're maybe a few they're, like, 6 weeks old, so,
yeah,
or
yeah,
8 weeks old, so you're
yeah,
like, 3 months ago, this little thing didn't exist, and
yeah,
it's hard to describe the amount of joy it can bring to someone just by having a beautiful little sweet animal by your side.
yeah,
But yes, of course, the yoga becomes secondary in
yeah.
that situation, which is totally normal.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Which again, it's different, modalities to calm the nervous system, to work with our bodies. Yeah.
Mhm.
The
Mhm.
animals have an incredible effect.
Oh,
So
definitely.
totally. So what gave I just want to ask you two more things. How did you come up with the name Self-Help Me? Like I really like how did you land on that?
Thank you. It came to me in meditation.
Mm,
Yeah, so I was trying to think of the right name for the brand and all the things that we're doing with the company, and the book, and the podcast. We have a podcast as well,
mhm.
and it was, yeah, it just came in meditation very gently. But that's again that little quiet voice we were talking about, where if you can tune in to that voice, which is never the loud one. The loud one is the ego one, where it's like, do this, let's force, let's push, or whatever. Whereas the
Mm,
quiet one, the gentler one, will have like just this little sparkle of an idea. And so, yeah, dropped right in. Actually, I think it
mm.
was after a yoga class. So,
Yeah, there's space.
hmm,
And what's interesting about that is it's not like it's a forced space. Like we just practice, sometimes things come up, and there's a lot of insight type of meditation. Like comes up. Sometimes nothing comes up, but we allow
Mhm.
space for things to come up. Yeah.
Yes.
Well, I tell you, this has been so enjoyable, and I wanted to ask you one other thing, and it feels like really your book is living that, and your work is living that. But the name of this podcast is "Pause to Elevate," and it gave me the idea of like just taking moments to pause in our life, whatever we practice, stepping back, so we can elevate our emotions, elevate our heart, elevate our mind, our body. So for you, what does pause to elevate mean?
I think that first of all, I think it's a beautiful name for your
Mm.
podcast. I think it's a very insightful name.
Thank
It's
you.
yeah, it really is, and I think that every time we pause, we allow for proactive behavior. So if you're being proactive as
Mm,
opposed to reactive from pause, then you are elevating. Every time you are moving up
mm,
onto a higher timeline, whatever however you want to describe that, but you are living your
right.
higher version of your life every time you pause. I really believe
Mm,
that. Mhm.
yeah. And it takes an intention to do that
Mhm.
because life is busy. Yeah.
Life is very
Life is,
busy.
yeah, it keeps being busy and things to do. Yeah.
Mhm.
By making the commitment, take pauses in life. Yeah.
Yeah, and those are the moments where you actually have an opportunity to allow beautiful emotions like joy to come up and say, "Wow, my life is really special. I got to do whatever the daily tasks are that you
Yeah.
got to do and instead of have to do." But just slowing down and I learned this from my grandmother, but she would always have this very positive outlook, and she would always tell us that no matter what day it is, always do something every day, even if it's a snowstorm, make sure you go outside and choose to be happy. And that's something that
Mm,
my mom follows and I try to follow as well. And I think taking a moment to pause and say, "Nope, I'm choosing to be happy in this moment.
yeah.
I'm choosing to take the higher path. I'm choosing to
Yeah.
be proactive." When you pause, you give yourself that opportunity.
Mm. And that's a choice. You said the word
Yes.
choice, so that's a choice. And thank you for choosing the path that you've chosen. Thank you for
Oh.
listening to your own heart and working through just being human. You're so real, like you're not trying to be authentic, like you really are authentic. Do you know what I mean?
Aw.
And it comes across in your book and your work and your comedy. Are you ever on the West Coast?
I do come to the West Coast. I have done some tours out there. I don't have anything planned right now, but I will definitely let you know for sure.
Drop me a line if you're ever in the West Coast. And in
I will.
your classes, are they ever online? The yoga classes, or are
Yes,
they?
so yes, my
Mm.
Saturday morning yoga class is at 10 a.m. EST, so that's 7 a.m.
Yeah.
your time or
Yeah.
PST, every Saturday, and we practice a hatha class. We also have an extended meditation that we do that's guided and really giving everybody the space to really come into that meditative state that we were talking about
Beautiful.
earlier. And so, yeah, that's every Saturday. It is virtual, and if I also offer private classes as well, and a
Ooh,
number of other things on the on the Self Help Me website. There's Reiki, there's lots of distance opportunities too. So, yeah.
beautiful. So the best way for folks to reach you is selfhelp.ca. Oh,
Self
no,
Help
self help
Me.
me. Sorry,
Mhm.
selfhelpme.ca. And
Yes.
how about Instagram?
Yeah, on Instagram, we're at Self Help Me Inc. INC. And my Instagram is at Dena, Dena Talks, Talks.
Beautiful. We'll put that in the show notes and links to the book. And
Thank you.
anything else you're wanting to the listeners to know? This has been so enjoyable and enriching, but anything else you'd like the listeners to know?
Oh, just that if you are listening to this podcast, then you have already taken the first step in your own
Mm,
healing. And so that's already opened a door. So if there is something where you were feeling a little nervous or doubtful about, know that you've already taken the first step.
Mm,
And if something resonates that we talked about today, whatever that is, if you want to go try a yoga class, or you're interested in breath work, or you want to try tapping online, or whatever it is, I would say take the next step because the door is
yeah.
open. Mhm.
What a caring little nudge to keep moving forward and with kindness. I really want to thank you so much for your beautiful wisdom and realness. And I look forward to connecting again in the future. And want to also thank all the listeners. If you found this useful and helpful, please share this. Send this to a friend, to a neighbor, to a colleague, to whoever it is. Let us all do our part to create ripples of change. Thank you for listening and watching. May your moments be filled with ease and may you be present in as many of them. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
So
you.
beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you so much for watching. And if you enjoyed this content, check out what's coming up next right over here. Thank you.